Are cancers just super emotionally manipulative? Or is there more to them? We're about to debunk some stereotypes about Cancer. Welcome everyone. A special welcome if you're a Cancer. You have strong Cancer placements. Welcome anyways if you have none. Like, I don't really have any. I do have Cancer in my North Node, so it's not energy that I'm the most familiar with. So I hope I can do Cancer justice, just because, like, I'm not as confident about the Cancer topic as I have been with the Taurus and Gemini, because I am very familiar with those. And with these, I wouldn't say I understand Cancers as well as I do other signs. Also, before we start, I will maybe be mentioning the terms of like high vibrations, low vibrations, and all I mean by that is like a high vibration Cancer is someone that has really worked on their cancerian traits in a more positive way, so they're healthier. And then low vibe is like more negative connotation and just stuff that they haven't worked out on themselves as much, and so it can come out as more negative cancerian traits. All signs have both high energy, high vibe, low vibe ways of manifesting, so we're focusing mostly on the higher vibe, because no sign is perfect. Also, this is not just for people that have like Cancer suns or Cancer moons or risings. This is for anyone that has strong Cancer placements. So number 1 on the list, Cancers are manipulative. Now, the number 1 thing to know about this stereotype and where it comes from is that Cancers really know their emotions. They really know emotions well. They're aware of other people's emotions, almost to the point where it can be harmful to them. And yeah, they intuitively pick up on a lot of things. So they are naturally good at figuring out people's emotional blind spots and soft spots. And, you know, a low vibe Cancer could use that information that they're picking up on, whether that's usually it's not even told directly to them by the person, but they're just picking up on details and behaviors and little facts that they're putting together and unpacking someone's shadow side or like hidden things, subconscious things about the person that the other person might not be aware of. So that could be kind of triggering for this Cancer person to know about these things, but they're not even fully aware. And so Cancers can be manipulative with, some Cancers can choose to be, but because they know, weak spots about a person and using those things against them. However, most Cancers that are like good people are not intentionally trying to manipulate anyone. They really are collecting emotional information about a person in order for them to better trust the person, in order for them to feel more safe to be open around this person by knowing their flaws and their darker sides and their shadow aspects, because that makes them feel more comfortable to share their own. And yeah, Cancers want to know every emotional thing about a person that's very important to them. But they really pick up on this stuff and want to know these things in order to be closer to that person, in order to have a deeper bond with that person. It's not to use that other person's emotions and weak spots against them necessarily. However, like I was mentioning, if the other person is kind of picking up on the fact that they're picking up on stuff that they've never explicitly said, that can be very triggering and send them into panic mode and like get angry or want to leave, because they feel like the other person or sign may feel like boundaries have been crossed, even though there's no physical boundary that's happened, but it can be funky energy, if you will. Secondly, I have the stereotype of Cancers are too sensitive. and overreactive. And although, yes, that it can come across that way, there's a lot more going behind the scenes with someone with cancerian traits. As you may know, Cancers are extremely intuitive, specifically towards, spiritual vibes and emotions. And so they are hyper attuned to things that most people may not even notice or may not be affected by. And I often like to think about this cancerian trait in regards to neurodivergency, saying autistic people. I'm not saying all cancers are neurodivergent or anything, but it's similar in the way that although autistic people can be overloaded with a lot of information, a lot of stimulation, a lot of their surroundings are affecting them in ways that a non-neurotypical or a neurotypical person may not notice, and it may not overwhelm them in the same way, and they may not be picking up on all these details. And for a Cancer, it's that, but mostly with emotions and mostly with the surroundings. And they're very aware of if they're in discomfort, then that can be very overbearing for them, and they may start shutting down. And they could have an outburst, they could start crying, they could get really angry or frustrated, which could come across as really moody, because it's for the other person that may not understand where they're coming from, they're just okay, you're getting angry or emotional out of nowhere, but it's not coming out of nowhere, it's just because all these minute details are kind of building up onto their consciousness, and it can just be too much. And those things aren't necessarily bad things all the time, but it can just be too much stimulation, too much of anything is just a lot to deal with. And Cancers are specifically sensitive to those kind of things. So they can come across as overreactive, overly sensitive. But that's actually kind of a gift in itself, because it's they're noticing beautiful things, minute details that other people may not even notice, which is so nice. And also something to note is that Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon, I believe, changes signs every 2.5 days, so it's a very quick moving body in the universe compared to Saturn or whatever. And so emotions are attuned to changing very quickly. It is not uncommon for someone with strong Cancer placements to go through an emotional roller coaster in a day or even hours, and their emotions can change within seconds, minutes, whatever, just because their body may be so hyper aware of things and feeling things, noticing things about your emotions, how you feel about other people, and they can just it can cycle through. A Cancer can process emotions very, very quickly. That's one of their strengths, but they're really in the emotion for however long that their body and mind needs to be in. Another stereotype I have about Cancers is Cancers are always on guard of themselves, of their loved ones, of their belongings, etc. They're just overprotective. And however, while I can agree with that to an extent, we're gonna unpack it a little bit more. Now, something I have noticed generally about people with Cancer placements that actually does make me feel I notice it, and it makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, partially probably because my South Node is in Capricorn, so I'm really used to energies that are kind of opposites to Cancer. But I've noticed that if you're meeting someone who has Cancer placements, you can sense a certain on-edgeness about them, and about about your presence, because Cancers take a long time to trust someone. They're little crabs in their shell. It's going to take a while for them to crawl out of it because they're shy or they're used to being hurt, and easily like affected by people. So they want to make sure that they're like they have their walls up, if you will. So around a lot of Cancers, I can kind of sense that their walls are up, and so it can come across as a little cold, or like I get the sense that Cancers can tell something about me, but I don't know what it is that they can tell about me, so that can be a little bit unnerving, and somewhat intimidating. And for, you know, a lot of people with like lower vibe Cancer energies, they can be very quick to judge. So you could feel really like silently judged by a Cancer if you first meet them, and like maybe you come across in a way that they perceive as more negative, and you can really feel that they don't really have to say anything, but it really comes from a place of fear and a place of protecting their own energy. So yes, they can be always on guard, but they're also very open to being very cozy and comfortable with you. Like that is the ideal. Like they do really want that, but they will put their guard up in order to compensate for any failure to read the person's energy, like just in case. Like it's rare that they do, but just in case, and they like kind of read the room wrong or read the person wrong, and then they get hurt, they want to make sure that they haven't exposed everything to you, and that they really need to make sure that they know everything about you, know how you tick. They're very observant creatures. Like it feels like they're kind of waiting for you to say like to mess up and how you're saying, and then that gives them reason to be okay, I can't trust this person or whatever. Yeah, which can be difficult. Yeah, it just comes from a place of fear and not wanting to get hurt. And they're not trying to be intimidating and cold to you, because it may take a while for Cancer to warm up to you, but like it can be pretty obvious once a Cancer trusts you, because they open up completely once they trust you. Next on the list, we have Cancers are clingy. Yes, it's true that a lot of Cancers' love languages are, terms of endearment and like gift giving and like being really close. Like touch is very big for a lot of Cancers, because they just want to be really cozy with you. However, Cancers can be anything but clingy when you first meet them or you're getting to know them, because they're in that stage of, can I trust this person? Is this person worth my time to open up to, or will I waste my emotional energy, which is very important to them, to someone that is not really going to give me any emotional energy back? But once they establish that emotional deep connection with you, or that trust or whatever, then they will let the waterfall collapse, the dam, if you will. They will fully come out. They will be like crying all over you because they love you so much and are filled with like so much love towards you that it's like overwhelming. But you're only gonna see that part of themselves if they've decided that you're like worthy of their emotion. Yeah, so they can come across as kind of clingy because it can go from one kind of energy to another that are very contrasting to each other, but them being clingy is just a good sign that they really trust you. And I think people often associate like clinginess with just like people wanting to be around the person a lot and like always want to be there and stuff. But if you tell them like what your boundaries are, like they will respect those boundaries because they understand their boundaries very well. So they're going to respect that, that if you like need more space and stuff. And another thing about like their clinginess is they're kind of like making up for lost time, if they took a long time to like build trust with you, because I think, you know, for a lot of cancers, it's like they really, really do want to express their full selves to you and be themselves around you, but there's something within them that kind of stops them from doing that, because maybe they don't know you well enough, or you need to prove your trust to them and stuff. And so after all that waiting period, they just completely come out of their shell, and they're like, can come across as very like, attached, because they've just been waiting this whole time. It's like unrequited love in a way, where you're just waiting and you're just waiting, but they're really just kind of waiting on themselves to open up. And so yeah, it just all comes out. Another kind of funny stereotype is cancers are the mom friends, and however that can be true, there's a lot of other signs that also kind of have that stereotype. So like Virgos, Capricorns, Tauruses, even like earth signs. Cancers are very earthy, even though they're watery. So yeah, they're one of the mom friends. However, yeah, this is not always the case, and it might not always be obvious that one of your friends is like the mom friend. They may care about you deeply in a more quiet way, so they don't really show it. But then also an important thing to note about cancers is that they don't want to be doing all the nurturing and all the caring and all the worrying. In order for them to be fully fulfilled, they want that same energy directed back at them, whether it's like friendship, or you're dating, or you're in a familial relationship with them, is that they expect a equal give and take, receiving, giving, nurturing energy. And if they're not given that in place, then they can grow pretty unhappy, and maybe they're not always conscious of the fact that they're not having their needs met. And so in order to cope with that, they will just give more of themselves and nurture more. But if the other person is not comfortable with that kind of receiving, or used to that, and will like kind of start pushing back, like the whole like anxious attachment to the other one, the avoidant attachment. You can see that a lot in Cancer dynamics and relationships, the Cancer being like the anxious attachment, and that's really just them like coping with trying to get their needs met by kind of how Cancers best communicate is through emotion. And if the other person does not communicate through emotion, then that can be very difficult. But they're trying to show, hey, I'm giving this to you so much because I need this from you also so much. I need you to do the same for me. And if that doesn't compute to the other person, then it's not great for the Cancer person. While they enjoy momming other people and caring for other people, that's genuinely something that they love. They love the coziness of that. They also really love to be nurtured and babyfied and babied. They like to receive that as well, as much as they like to give. Cancers are submissive tops, if you will, because they really want to give, but they want you to tell them what to do, if you will. That's what I've heard a lot of, and I think it makes a lot of sense. If you want me to do astrology videos on like sexual dynamics, let me know. And we're just ending with another kind of funny, unserious one, but the stereotype that Cancers like girly things and they like pastels and pink and stuff. And as you can see, I have my pink and stuff. So yes, many Cancers do like that. They like the Venusian energy of like Venus and the moon and feminine things. But really, that's not going to be the case for all people with Cancer placements. They're not all the same. But really, for them, it's all concerning about what brings them comfort and what brings them nostalgia from, like, childhood. What is the most comforting? What kind of things do they want to surround themselves that remind them of good memories and cozy times where they were cared for? But obviously, if someone with Cancer placements did not have a very nurturing childhood or past where they didn't receive that, then perhaps they're not really going to be as into, like, girly things, because perhaps they weren't given that opportunity to express themselves in the girlhood way, or, you know, their gender identity did not match to their girlhood, so they weren't really given those things. So, like, it could be that because they didn't have those things, then they can get really into pink and feminine things later on in life because they never had that. But at the same time, if that's not what their childhood looked like, then it may not manifest into that. Or if their childhood was not necessarily like emotionally safe to them, then girlhood stuff may not appeal to them because it just reminds them of, like, bad times. Cancers actually really like the color blue, specifically, like, powder blue, baby blue, and I think that gets overlooked a lot by pink. They really just like anything that is soft and cozy. They really like white because they move by the moon. Not always the case, but they like things like pearls and stuff associated to the ocean. Pretty things, soft things. Comfort is key. Wearing ultra soft clothing doesn't necessarily have to look girly, but it can. Anyways, that is all for the video. I hope I did justice to these Cancer traits that I've noticed, of debunking the stereotypes and or at least unpacking them as to, like, where they stem from. But yeah, let me know if you relate to these if you're Cancer, if you've noticed these in your Cancer friends, if there's anything else you want to add on or correct or unpack more, please let me know in the comments. I would love to keep this conversation going. Always down to learn more about signs that I'm not as familiar with or don't have many placements myself. So yeah, stay tuned for the Leo version of Debunking Stereotypes. Very excited about that one. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a little like. If you want to subscribe so you can stay tuned from when the Leo video comes up, and if you want to see any of my videos on astrology-based things, tarot-based things, life itself, yeah, please subscribe. And yeah, comment if you so desire. Comment a little crab emoji so I know you're here with me. Yeah, love you, my Cancer peeps. You deserve the world, and hope you have a lovely rest of your day that's not full of too much unpleasant emotions. So yeah, hope your day's chill. Okay, bye.